How does one night at a club turn into a bright lobby service of papers? What happens when I call strangers' hands playful, frame my husband as controlling, and then watch him answer with quiet dates, saved messages, and orders that speak louder than my captions? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Undine Vale, and I like rooms that notice me. I am 30, a salon receptionist, a mother, and the woman who went to the club without her husband because light belongs to everyone. Caleb is my husband. People say he is steady. I say he is cold. He asked why men had their hands on my waist in the videos. I said they were helping with balance. He asked why I hid the late clips. I said privacy is self-respect. That is how we talk now. Plain words that carry sharp work. At home, the kitchen tells our story better than we do. 2 mugs on opposite counters, a thin utilities binder growing thick, a wall planner with a single red ring. The guest bed is too neat, but still shows a shallow dip. The study drawer clicks shut when I pass. Yesterday, Caleb's screen flashed a small bar, downtown 4:05 p.m., and he brushed it away. He said it was nothing. I said I did not care. I always care when quiet changes shape. I am not a villain. I am brave. A touch on a floor is not betrayal, and a wife should not beg to glow. I came home after sunrise and turned on all the lights like I was testing a stage. The kitchen smelled like lemon and old coffee. 2 mugs waited on opposite counters as if they had argued in the night. I dropped my keys so the sound would tell the room I was fine. Caleb stood by the sink with sleeves pushed up. He asked if I had fun. I said the club was energy and that people need energy. He asked why a stranger's arm was around my waist in 3 clips. I said people help with balance on a crowded floor. He asked why I muted my story after midnight. I said, privacy is self-respect. That is how I keep my side clean. I use neat words and leave nothing wet. I opened the fridge and stared at the shelves. I said the night taught me that a wife can shine without a permission slip. Caleb said, Mina sleeps better when nights stay quiet. I said children learn joy from a mother who is not afraid. He did not argue. He never gives me the big scene I can point at later. My eyes went to the mugs. I slid them together like 2 boats in the same harbor. He moved one back to its corner. He said mornings work when things stay where they belong. I said belonging is a soft cage. The sentence felt strong in my mouth. In the living room, the couch was neat, the floor clear. Confetti from last week was gone. The thin binder labeled utilities had grown thick again, its spine bending like a back that worked late. I ran a finger along it and asked why bills need a book. He said order saves time. I said order steals air. He wiped the counter in lines that looked calm on purpose. He asked if I would be home tonight. I said maybe. He said maybe is hard on Mina. I said maybe keeps a heart open. He rubbed a small circle on the towel and said nothing. I walked to the hall. The guest bed looked too neat, but still showed a shallow dip, like a person sat thinking. I said he was punishing me by sleeping there. He said the bed gave him rest. I said distance is a kind of show. He did not reply. The study door stood open. I reached for the top drawer. It clicked shut before my fingers touched it. He said the lock kept scissors from Mina. I said locks keep secrets in. He said locks stop harm. The word stop and harm sat down between us like heavy bags. My phone buzzed. Paula wrote that I should post a soft photo with Mina and let the warmth drown the noise. She said people forgive mothers who glow. I typed that glow is not a bribe. Ruth sent a short line asking, we keep adult things off the internet so Mina does not repeat them at school. I read it twice and called it a control attempt in my head. Caleb's phone chimed. A small grey bar slid down, downtown 4:05 p.m. He tapped it away with one finger, face still. I said the city must love his punctuality. He said it was nothing. I said I did not care. I cared enough to feel it in my teeth. Downtown is where people move pieces and use polite voices. I poured water and told the air that a touch on a dance floor is not betrayal. I said it is proof of life. Caleb asked if proof of life includes a stranger's hand staying too long. I said the camera angle lied. He asked why I deleted the late clips if they were harmless. I said I delete things to keep them pretty. He looked at the clock and asked what time Mina should wake for school. I said I had it covered. I liked how the words sounded, even if I had not set the alarm. Mina padded in with tangled hair and a drawing of a cat. She asked if the club had lights like cartoons. I said the lights told me I was real. Caleb asked if she wanted oatmeal or toast. I said we could have cake for breakfast because life is short. He said we would save cake for later. I told myself he dislikes joy when it is not his. I stepped into our bedroom and checked the mirror. My face looked brave enough for a caption. From the hall came the soft click of the study lock again. My phone lit on the dresser. A small text preview slid and hid. VIP, next time. The name at the top was not saved, but I knew the tone. Nico wrote like a promoter selling air. The message vanished before I could decide what to feel. Fate always likes me more than rules. I went back to the kitchen and set the mugs together again, just to mark the room. Caleb rinsed a spoon and set it to dry. He asked if I would tell Mina why men touched me in the videos. I said men did not touch, the crowd did. He nodded like a teacher who knows the answer is wrong but does not want a scene. He put Mina's spoon on the table and said, "School starts at 8. I said glow starts whenever I arrive. I grabbed my bag. As I left, the study gave one more tiny sound, a neat mechanical click that said, "Order" had the last word. I told myself clicks are just furniture with opinions. I reached the salon before the first blowout and let the door chime mark me as early. The open room smelled like hairspray and warm plastic. I laid out appointment cards in a perfect fan because neat stacks make people trust me. Ria, my manager, walked by with her thermos and said we should have a quick word after the morning rush. I said of course in my best front desk voice. She smiled the way bosses do when they carry a soft warning. At the back counter, 2 stylists watched my clip on one phone. They asked if the hand on my hip was my husband's. I said it was crowd safety and that people in the club behave like schools of fish. They laughed and said the angles did not look like fish. I said angles lie for a living. A third stylist asked if Caleb was mad. I said secure men enjoy confident wives. The line felt good and polished. Between calls, I opened our family calendar to check dentist reminders. A grey block sat on Caleb's line that I had not seen before. Meeting, personal, repeating every Thursday. I told myself he had found a boring men's group or a chess club that matched his mood. I closed the calendar fast, as if speed could erase it. Paula sent a draft caption for me. Morning smiles with my girl. She said the platform loves mothers who glow. I typed that truth does not wear costumes. Ruth left a voice note that said only, "Please keep Mina out of the comments." I did not press play again because the tone in my head was enough. Ria waved me into the small office with the crooked poster. She thanked me for covering last week and then asked if I could stop tagging the salon when I post personal videos. She said, "Clients get nervous when staff show up in drama clips." I said, "My club night was art, not drama." She said the brand needs calm. I said calm is beige. She said beige pays rent. I said I understood. We both smiled like that solved the thing it did not. When I stepped into the hall, Mr. Kwan from HR stood near the copy machine with a patient face. He asked if he could take 2 minutes to review social policy. I said 2 minutes is easy. He pointed to lines about location tags, client privacy, and keeping minors off personal feeds. He said the salon cannot be linked to personal conflict. I said I do not fight, I perform. He said performance still has an address. The copy machine spit a blank page, then began to spool a new stack in a steady rhythm that filled the room without shouting. At the desk, a stylist slid her phone toward me. The slow-motion clip showed a stranger's hand staying longer than balance needs. I said the lens exaggerates time. She said time usually shrinks on camera. I said she would not understand. She does not work with crowds. She raised her eyebrows and returned to her scissors. A call labeled private buzzed on my phone and went dark. Another preview slid up and vanished. Follow up later. Unknown. I told myself it was spam from a club list. Spam is any message that doesn't bow to my story. I posted a coffee boomerang with the caption, "Strong wives do not apologize for color." Little hearts walked across the screen like obedient ants. It helped. A client asked about the viral clip while paying. She said the lights looked fun. I said fun is a skill. She asked if my husband hated it. I said men fear light when it is not theirs. She smiled the way people do when they do not want to be part of your home. After lunch, Ria passed my station and said we would circle back Friday. Her tone was smooth and final. I nodded like a team player. The printer kept spooling papers somewhere in the back, steady like rain you forgot to close the window for. I checked our calendar again and saw meeting. Personal still sitting there for next week, small and grey, like a drum I had not agreed to. I locked my phone, then unlocked it, then put it face down as if that hid the beat. Near closing time, Mr. Kwan stopped at the desk to thank the team for calm mornings. He said clients notice. I said out loud that clients also notice energy. He said energy needs boundaries. The word boundaries felt like a door trying to be polite. I turned to the mirror and adjusted my face until it looked like control. The stylist changed shoes. I stayed a minute longer to file receipts. A coworker leaned in and whispered that the group chat was sharing a slow-motion clip from the club floor with my name tagged under it. She asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and that the internet knows who to push. She said pushing can also mean shoving. I laughed and wrote that line down in my head for later. The copy machine spat a single blank page again and then returned to spooling. The noise was soft but endless, like a background decision. Ria called my name once more and asked for that quick word now if I had a minute. My phone lit in my hand with a new tag of the dance, and then another from the club page I forgot to untag. I smoothed my shirt, set my smile, and walked toward the small office like the hallway belonged to me. I reached the club early because cameras like the first hour. The floor was not crowded yet, so every step looked larger. Nico met me by the rope with a grin like a ticket. He asked if I wanted the good corner. I said the corner I choose becomes good. He walked me up a small set of steps and waved at the DJ. The lights moved across my arms like proof that I exist. A line of girls filmed the empty floor and tagged the room. I stood tall and told myself I was the mood. By midnight, the place was thick. A chant rose and fell from the back wall. It said nothing clear, just sound pushing sound. A stranger slid his arm around my waist and said, "Balance." I said, "Balance is polite." We moved as the bass jumped. A flash went off near the booth. I turned my face toward it because faces need angles the way flowers need sun. The stranger's hand stayed past the beat. I told myself the lens makes time longer. Another flash, another hand. A girl I did not know pressed a drink into my palm and said I was the queen of the night. I said queens do not ask permission. The chant picked up the word queen and repeated it like a drum with a crown on it. On the smoking patio, the air felt like warm paper. Nico leaned in and said, I glowed. I said, glow is a skill, not luck. He asked if Caleb ever came out. I said Caleb prefers rules. Nico nodded the way people do when they are glad it is not their problem. A friend filmed me with the city behind my shoulder. I raised my chin and said I was here to prove that life does not wait for approval. She typed the caption on the spot. Her screen looked like a small stage under my hand. We went back inside. The DJ slowed the track, and the floor pressed tight. Someone lifted my arm and spun me like a coin. Fingers brushed my waist again. It was quick and then not quick. Phones glowed, the little sea of lenses turned. I said to myself that I was teaching the room how to breathe. The bass dropped. People shouted. I let myself be a flag. At last, caller group pulled me toward the rooftop bar across the alley. The air was cooler and made my skin read as glass. I faced the skyline and told them a wife can shine without approval. They cheered because cheering is easy. Nico offered me a ride home. I said I preferred to arrive on my own feet. He sent me a message as I walked to the curb. The preview said, "Only Queen Energy," then vanished. I added it to my private museum of proof. Morning, the supermarket lights were too honest. I wore sunglasses because drama helps hold shape. The clerk looked up and said she knew my dress from the clips. I said the city has good memory. She asked if it was worth the mess. I said joy is worth discipline. She gave me the receipt like it was a grade. Back home, the apartment looked like a new page. The thin utilities binder had swollen again, spine soft and tired. The air held a faint smell like printer toner. Noah's laptop woke when I passed, and then minimized a window in a quick blink. The desktop showed two calm folders, Archive A and Archive B. I told myself order is a cage with a nice label. I posted a clip with a warm filter, only faces, no hands. Hearts marched across the screen. Our group chat lit up with a new angle from the floor. It showed a hand at my waist that did not rush. Comments mixed sugar and sand. My phone buzzed once more. A text preview slid over the clip and erased itself before I could breathe the words. It said, saved everything. No name, no emoji. I told myself it was a joke. I told myself jokes cannot harm me if I do not laugh. Paula booked a long table at the family restaurant for cousins who missed the birthday. The bright lights showed kindness whether you had it or not. I arrived in a good dress because a room listens better when color speaks. Caleb had reached early and lined the menus like a fan. I tugged one out of place so the line would know I was not in it. He asked if Mina brought her new reading list. I said Mina could improvise. She is mine. Paula kissed my cheek and said I looked rested. I said the city had carried me home. Cousins wanted the story. I gave them a clean version. Playful touch as crowd safety, hands as guardrails, rhythm as therapy. They laughed and leaned in. Caleb asked if I wanted water. I said I wanted understanding. He poured the water anyway and nudged the glass closer. I did not touch it. Ruth looked at Mina and then at me. She asked that we keep club words away from little ears. I said, smart children handle truth. Ruth said, children deserve gentle air. I said gentle air is just silence in a pretty coat. Plates arrived and left. I told a line about light and fear and how some men mistake care for control. The cousins clapped, because clapping builds a fence around discomfort. One of them filmed for a second, and then set the phone down when Caleb asked for privacy. His voice stayed calm, like a teacher asking for a door to close. Calm always feels like a trick when I want to fight. After dinner, we crossed to the park. The swings sang their little metal songs. I sat with Paula on a bench and scrolled. A playground mom had posted a blurred still of my club clip and wrote a caption that tasted like gossip. I tapped a heart because hearts speak faster than thought. Across the grass, Caleb and his brother Evan stood at the fence, hands in pockets, heads close, voices low. I told Paula that men whisper when they want to win without sweat. She said men plan when they realize what could break. I said nothing in me breaks. Mina hurried over with a paper crown. She asked why men touched mommy if daddy loves mommy. The question did not shout. It landed like a folded letter with my name on it. I said the club has its own rules. She asked if love needs other hands to help it stand. I said some nights are busy. She said busy is not an answer. Ruth called her to look at a bright kite. Mina went, but she looked back, small and serious, and something in the day lost color. Back at the house, The driveway felt like a runway pointing away from me. Caleb's car faced the street. I said fast exits look guilty. He said early shifts prefer straight lines. I said words can be trained to sit. He set his keys in the bowl without a sound. Inside the garage, a stack of mail lay flipped, top envelope face down. I said, rummaging is a nervous costume. He said sorting saves time. I said sorting saves cowards. He let the sentence fall and did not pick it up. He stepped into the study to put down his jacket. The laptop woke bright and fast. For one heartbeat, I saw a sheet with initials in one column and dates in another. He closed the lid with care. I said it looked like a trap that wanted to look like a calendar. He said it was school scheduling. I said the fonts looked personal. He said records help memory. I said memory in the wrong hands becomes a blade. He did not reply. On his keyring, a new key caught the light and looked like a small yes he had not offered me. I asked what door learned a new story. He said the mailbox had stuck. I said keys multiply when men plan exits. He said keys multiply when old ones fail. Ruth texted to ask if she could take Mina to the library tomorrow. I typed that we had plans. Caleb asked if Mina wanted a stamp in her reading log. Mina jumped like a bird. I told myself he had coached that. It felt better than admitting she liked a world that did not need me. Paula called to say a soft family picture would cool the feed. I said softness is a costume. She said softness is a home. I said homes should be alive, not soft. She sighed as if the phone had weight. I opened my notes app and began a thread called How Confidence Works. The sentences came hot. I read them once and held the delete button until the screen went blank. The air near the study carried that toner smell again, faint but sure, like the house had been printing rules. On the porch, I breathed until the neighbor with the stroller passed. She slowed for a second and looked at me the way people look at windows in a store they do not plan to enter. I lifted my chin and smiled like a person who writes the weather. She adjusted the blanket and moved on. My phone buzzed with a comment that repeated the chant from the club. I liked it without reading the replies. Back inside, Mina brought me a book and asked if love means you keep your hands for your favorite person. A small thing in my chest turned. I said love has many shapes. She asked if my shape could keep changing in public. I said grown-ups understand balance. Caleb said bedtime had arrived. I said bedtime is not a cure. He read the first page in his steady voice, the one that makes rooms try to behave. Mina's face went soft. I stood in the doorway and watched my control slide down like a ribbon with no knot. In the kitchen, the two mugs waited on opposite counters again. I pushed them together and apart and together again, as if I could write a better ending with porcelain. The utilities binder sat thicker than yesterday. On the hall table, a single unsealed envelope waited like an open mouth. The house felt like a quiet witness holding a pen. I climbed the stairs like a person who owned the landing. The bulb hummed above me. The air near the study carried that thin smell again, like warm paper from a small machine. On the little table sat a sticky note in Caleb's neat hand. It read, "Bring forms." I turned it over, found nothing else, and laughed to myself as if the paper had tried to scare me. Caleb stepped from the study with Mina's folded sweater over his arm. He asked if I needed anything from the store. I said I needed honesty. He looked at the note and said it was for utilities. I said utilities did not need theatre. He said order saved time. I said order stole air. We were two people with old lines, each trying to make them sound new. I pushed into the study before he could close it. The desk lamp made a neat square of light. I tried the top drawer. It did not open. I jiggled the handle. He said the lock kept scissors away from Mina. I said, locks kept secrets. He did not answer. On the lower shelf, under a blue folder labeled taxes, sat a single USB stick with a strip of tape across it and today's date in tidy numbers. I held it up by the edge and asked if it was a diary. He said it was a backup. I said backups are for people planning to lose. He said backups are for people who plan. He put on his serious headphones and looked at the screen. Somewhere in the room, a faint beep sounded. Clean, exact, not emotional at all. I told myself it came from the dishwasher and refused to check. The laptop woke brighter than the lamp. A clean desktop showed 2 folders like bookends, Archive A and Archive B. I said he lived in a filing cabinet now. He said finding things fast keeps a house calm. I said, calm is not alive. He moved the mouse and a window minimized so fast it felt guilty. For a breath, I saw a thread title, Follow-up. I asked who needed following up. He said everyone does. I said riddles were not attractive. He did not turn his head. In the kitchen, 2 mugs waited on opposite counters like strangers who shared a last name. I slid them together like 2 boats meeting in rain. He moved one back without a word. I said this game was petty. He said separate stations make mornings easy for Mina. I said mornings were not my boss. He opened the fridge and handed me water. I said I was not a plant. He said people still need water. I drank because my mouth felt like paper. The thin utilities binder on the shelf looked fatter again, its spine bending a little, like a back that stayed late at work. I ran a finger along it and told myself it hurt to touch. On the wall planner, a single date wore a red ring, calm and sure. I asked if we were celebrating something. He said it was a due date for Mina's trip payment. I said circles looked like targets. He said circles looked like clocks from above. His line walked past me and did not stumble. My phone buzzed. Paula asked if she could post a soft throwback of me holding Mina. She said light would heal the feed. I said the feed must learn to live without sugar. Ruth texted to say she could take Mina to the library tomorrow for quiet time, and that doors should not keep music away from children. I typed that we had plans. A moment later, she replied with one word, steady. I read it 3 times as if the letters would change. A small alarm chirped on the counter. Caleb tapped it off with one finger. The label flashed long enough to read, Paper Drop. I said the name was dramatic. He said the alarm cleared flyers and old mail. I said, men love props. He nodded toward the bin and said, piles grow fast. I said, lies grow faster. He let the words pass like weather. I opened the outbox on the hall table. An unsealed envelope lay inside like a quiet mouth waiting for air. I lifted the flap and saw nothing I could use in a caption. Caleb appeared in the doorway and said it was nothing important. I slid the envelope back with 2 fingers and pretended it weighed more than it did. From the study came a small cloud message. File uploaded successfully. The glow on the screen was soft and patient, like a light that never learned how to shout. I wrote to Nico that the Queen caption still moved through our chat. He sent one spark emoji. I renamed the distance as respect because my story needs clean words. A friend dropped another slow-motion clip from the floor. Comments bloomed like wild plants. One asked if finishing a night means opening a home. I deleted it and told myself envy types fast. I stepped to the balcony because the room felt crowded with invisible lists. The street below made a soft river sound. I told Caleb I might take Mina to my mother's for 2 days so I could reset the mood. He said Mina needed routine. I said routine is a cage. He said routine is a flaw. I said men love flaws because they fear falling. He said metaphors did not help. I said facts never help me when they are not on my side. He watched the traffic lights change color like a lesson for children. I said he was making me look like a villain. He said I did not need help to look like that lately. The sentence landed with no extra weight, which made it worse. I said he was cruel. He said he was careful. I said, careful men are cowards. He said careful men keep children safe. I said I would keep Mina safe my way. He said his way involved less noise. I said noise is proof of life. The space between us felt like glass. Inside the study, the screen pulsed again. File uploaded successfully. I asked if he was building a case. He said he was putting things in order. I said order is a weapon. He said disorder cuts too. I said he needed to fight for me if he wanted me. He said he would not fight. He said he would handle matters properly. He did not raise his voice. The word properly arrived like a stamp on clean paper. I laughed because laughter sounds like winning when you do not listen too closely. He did not move. He said boundaries would stand now, and schedules would stand, and respect would stand. I said, respect is a shape men draw around women to hold them still. He said respect is space where a child can sleep. For a moment, I did not have a clever line. The night felt taller than me. Evan stopped by to return a drill. He asked if anything needed carrying to the garage. Caleb said a box could go out. Evan lifted it without talking. I said the box made a rude picture. Caleb said the box made room for calm. Evan looked at me kindly and kept walking. The front door closed with a normal sound that still felt like a decision. I typed a new post called "Freedom is not a crime" and watched the replies sour. People who liked me last week told me to breathe. People who never liked me told me to apologize. I blocked 2 and then 3. The balcony air cooled my arms. The door slid on its track. My face caught in the glass for a second and looked smaller than I expected. The latch found home with a clean click that sounded like the end of a short chapter. I chose the office tower lobby because bright floors make people polite, and I wanted a polite end to rumors. The atrium shone like water. Security stood at their desk with quiet hands. Plants lined the windows like they had been told to behave. I walked in with my phone in my palm and a face that said, I owned this hour. I told myself this was a simple talk to stop the whispering. Caleb waited near the desk with his badge clipped to his pocket. He nodded once, the same way he nods to strangers who ask for a street name. The nod landed inside me like a small coin with no picture on it. A security officer greeted him by name and looked at me with a neutral face. The officer asked if I needed a visitor pass. I said I came to clear a misunderstanding. Caleb said clarity would arrive soon. I said rumors die when people are brave. He said facts do not need bravery. The sentence was not loud, but it closed a door in the air. 2 women from the playground stood near the benches with paper cups. One whispered and stared at her lid. I told myself they wanted content. A person in a blazer walked toward us with a small envelope and a professional smile. The person asked for my full name and date of birth. I gave both because official voices turn on a switch in your lungs. The person confirmed the details and said there were papers for me. I said papers were not needed. The person said service was required. The envelope touched my hand and felt both light and heavy. The top page held a bold word I had not invited, petition. The lines below were plain and sharp, even with my pulse working hard. It said divorce with temporary orders. It granted Caleb exclusive possession of the home until a hearing. It said, I must not re-enter the residence without arrangement. It set a temporary custody pickup schedule starting today, times and places listed like bus stops. It said personal items could be collected by arrangement with notice. The sentences did not ask me how I felt. I said this was theatre. The process server said this was lawful service. Caleb thanked the server for their time in the same steady tone he uses when a neighbor's parcel arrives. He did not look proud. He looked finished. I said we could fix it at home. He said the home was protected by the orders for now. I said he wanted to make me homeless. He said the orders kept Mina steady and kept conflicts small. The security officer adjusted a badge and went still again. Voices in the atrium thinned like a curtain pulled halfway. My phone buzzed. Paula texted that she was outside with Mina's scarf and that she hated public scenes. I typed that this was not a scene. My thumb made a mistake and then fixed it. The server read the pickup time for today out loud. After school, east entrance, 5:30, so there would be no confusion. People nearby lowered their voices, not to hide, but to let the moment have its own space. I asked what would happen if I went home now for a bag. The server said, I must not re-enter without arrangement, and that security could note a time for a short collection with Caleb present. Caleb said he would meet me at 6 by the front door with a list and a box. I said I did not agree to his clock. He said the order was the clock. The words sat between us like glass that would not show fingerprints. One playground mother lifted her phone halfway and then set it down as if her hand had chosen to be kind. The other studied the directory like it could help. I told Caleb he had turned me into an enemy. He said he had followed the law. I said he had trained the law to hate me. He said the law does not hate, it measures. He said Mina needed sleep more than a show. The lines were simple and heavy. They did not look for applause. The server asked me to confirm I had received the documents. I said I had. The server noted the time and thanked the officer. The atrium's sounds returned, shoes over stone, a printer from somewhere spitting a page, the soft cough of an elevator beginning to move. The packet rested warm in my hand now, warmed by me and still not mine. I asked Caleb if he felt proud. He said he felt steady. He said he would follow the orders. He said he hoped I would too. He thanked the security desk again, and they nodded with the same polite quiet they give to anyone who behaves. An elevator bell chimed. The doors opened with a soft breath. The process server stepped inside and faced forward. The doors began to slide shut. The bright stripe of the lobby floor reached my shoes and then lifted away. I stood with the packet and a smile that would not hold, while the lobby noise rose around me like water finding its level. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.